we have someone watching because I mentioned my lip reading skills and now they are covering their mouths and writing notes? Oh, in the courtroom? Jimmy did notice notes the other day, yeah. What's going on? Can't hear you.
Sorry. I have like a sort of a little different. I'll talk very slow. I don't want to sniff.
Okay.
I've been practicing.
All right, so I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'm going to.
No, I have to ask you something first.
Okay.
So I have like I just want to make it clear too, but I have a sort of a different, not a different viewpoint, but I'm going to be like I'm not that I'm not going to hold back, but I don't want it to be perceived as like I'm on one side or the other, or I'm against one side or the other. I mean, I just think it should be like that's why I was so passionate about saying like Amber is not on trial, but I feel like, but then she's also not, you know, like you can't just always defend and I'm not saying we are. I'm just saying like look at what they said about Schneer. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I just think it's it's probably more sensitive to it because we know her, you know. I mean, Schneer, like look what they're still tearing Schneer apart. So I mean, I just, like I said, I don't want to be perceived just because I did, you know, politely disagree or, you know, whatever. I just,
they want to know, okay, caller, introduce yourself because people would like to know who's on the phone.
They don't know. BBT. Richard.
So
BBT
I'm going to put myself on mute so I can speak for Cowgirl, okay?
Well, because some of it was to what you were saying, so.
Okay, I'll just put myself on mute. All right.
All right, bye. She talked after she was just, so, well, like I said, I'm not choosing sides or anything. If you're listening, that's like, very obviously, it's horrible, but, so, I think I came away with, like, I really like what that his father said. I did. I think he was extremely, extremely honest, and the reason I think that, and that judge, he did not want to tell him to stop swearing. Hey, look how long it took him. That wasn't his first swear, you know. And I think there's a lot to be said for you know, a pro swearer as myself. The way he was just articulating everything, he was in his zone. He was not lying. I mean, whether he was accurate or not, that's to be determined by evidence. But his truth. That was his truth. I don't, not a shred of a doubt. And you know, I just, you know, my thoughts don't get turned up. Like that's how I saw it. You know.
Hi, Joan. Who's on the other line?
No,
It's Debbie.
Debbie. Okay.
Can
So.
you put my name on the photo? You're not seeing me today. I haven't watched it.
Okay. Which one is Debbie? Which one are you? Are you under me or?
Let me have a look. Just trying to work it out.
No, I'm under you, Carolyn. I'm under you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm looking for some identifying.
Well, you say iPhone now. Yeah.
It says virtual background. I wonder what will happen if I stick that.
I don't know. So I'll just put you on mute for a minute, Debbie, so we can check in with Joan, and then I'll unmute you.
There,
Okay.
there you go.
Okay. All right. Now, Joan, what's going on?
What I've been a couple of times today, and I thought that the babysitters were truthful. Basically, in my mind, if I was on the jury right now, that guy would be going to prison. There has been too much testimony about how he functions normally. And everybody, when they go through a divorce, gets depressed and does.
They've just gone off a simple sighting of one episode. So just be knowing that the world isn't judging you. The haters are judging you. The haters don't matter in our lives. We can't live our lives and worry about the haters. Otherwise, we'd all go round the twist. So, you know, what you've been through is more than any mother or even any parent or grandparent can bear. And none of us know what.
Maybe it's not scientifically accurate about the creation of the earth or how old the earth is or when dinosaurs lived, that kind of thing. So it all goes back to, again, that children have very little rights, and you know, we expect, like Joan was saying about where were the adults? Where the hell were the adults? And what I'm hearing in this trial is babysitters had concerns and reported, teachers had concerns and reported. You know, I think we can look around just our own neighborhoods and our own involvement. Like, do you even know who your next door neighbor on the right is, or on your left? How many children do they have? The fact that was it the Tuppen case where they had something like 10 children marching around at night only, and you think, you know, this has gone on for how many years? How old were these oldest children? And it was never reported. It took a girl to escape from the house and dial 911. And so the victim, you know, the one who's been child abused, is the one that has to actually report it and testify. And there's something wrong with that. We all need a neighbor like Nate. We need a nosy neighbor who knows what's going on, who lives there, you know, what time do they go to work, what time do they get home from work, and how many children are in those houses. And we are accountable to our neighbors. And I'd just like to say, not as a, you know, self-righteousness or anything of that type. I lived next door to a woman that had a young girl, a toddler, and she was pregnant out to where her belly button was going to pop. And I could hear her losing her temper through the wall of the condominium. And so I went over and knocked on her door and said, "Hi, my name's Joanne. I noticed you're in the military. I'm in the Navy. I'm stationed right down the street here at Barbers Point, Hawaii. You know, how about if I blah, blah, blah?" And what I did is I took the little toddler boy, brought him over to my house, asked the woman for a diaper and a change of clothing because I wanted to get him bathed and ready for bed because I wanted to look at him. I wanted to see if he was bruised and, you know, look for abrasions and that kind of thing. So I fed him like some macaroni and stuff, gave him a bath, got him in a little diaper. I think he had a sippy cup. He did walk, but he was, you know, still a baby. And when she'd come home from work with the two children, and again, she's pregnant out here. Her husband had abandoned her and was having an affair with someone else. That's what she told me. I carried all her groceries inside the house. So it's like alleviating the burden because those children were in danger of, she was using a leather belt on her children. And I could hear it through the wall, you know, the screaming, the yelling. And I don't just sit in my house and say, oh, that neighbor, you know, Cindy is at it again. You have to get involved. And it, you know, it is fearful to go knock on someone's door. It is fearful at 2:30 in the morning to go knock on a door because you hear a drunken husband and some banging and the wife cry out, and you go over and he meets you at the front door all glassy-eyed, and you're like, I want to see your wife. Oh, she's fine. No, I want to see her. And, you know, you have to sometimes throw on the be itchy crate cape and stand up for your fellow sisters, you know. And, you know, in this particular case, it shows everything that's wrong with our society right now, in that, you know, we've got the disparage between, you know, what the man has, what the woman has. She's dependent on his paycheck. She's stuck in this small space with too many children. And then, you know, the whole system, if they're not accountable in the public school system and they're just homeschooled, there is nobody looking out for these kids. And I don't know the definition of legal insanity. I don't understand 50% of what gets brought up in court, but I know it's important, or the lawyers wouldn't go over it to pin something to the wall. And as for like child protective services, they're overworked and undermanned, and they have caseloads and stacks of files and things. And you know, we're paying, our tax dollars are paying for these government services, and I think we all know that, you know, the system isn't really working for the little guy. And then you get somebody like this who has, you know, 5 dead corpses in his car, driving around for 2 to 3 days, and then has the gall to try to plead not guilty to try to get a legal insanity. You know, he should man up and just say, yes, I'm guilty. I killed them. What is the punishment that my society and my state are going to inflict upon me? And take it. And, you know, somebody with Teacup was asking in the chat room, what do you think? Life without parole? Do you think death penalty? And I'm like, hey, just give him life without parole, because we don't enforce the death penalty anymore. You know, Scott Peterson is sitting up there in Northern California, and he's not been put down. And all this stuff about the injection and the drugs and this and that. You know, the firing squad is fast. It's just as painless, you know, when they aim for the heart, the chest. The guy should be dead before he hits the ground. And I think until American society agrees that we do not accept that people can run around and molest our 2-year-olds, our 5-year-olds, our 7-year-old boys and girls, and just be let out of jail in 4 years and reoffend, because for every child that is, you know, every offender, every perpetrator that has one child and charges brought against him, I guarantee you, statistically, there are 25 kids that we are not hearing about. And this goes for the religion of Catholicism and the priests and all of that. You know, it just, until the people of America, the women of America, it was Mothers Against Drunk Drivers that got the laws changed about driving around with a cold beer between your legs. And enough women got sick and tired of having their kids clipped, hit, run over, and, you know, by a drunk driver, because it was socially acceptable back then. And then we had laws that we needed to put seatbelts inside cars, and everybody moaned and groaned. And it's a huge, huge ball of wax. And until us women, us mothers, us grandmothers, the aunties, come together in little groups and take signs and march in front of the courthouses where there's a media presence, only then, until we get legislation changed, are our little boys and girls going to be saved. This is Joanne Dallas. I thank you for my 10 minutes, and goodbye.
Thanks, Joanne. Okay. So let's see. I'm just trying to read what everybody's saying. Women need to help each other up. Elise Hennessy says not knock them down. Correct. The whole thing, Diana says, is about one thing. Whether Tim was temporarily insane when he killed his and Amber.
and that he went to get a gun to kill her, and all her babies were in the house. And all my kids come filing out, you know, like they normally do. And I got them to shut all the lights off, and I shut the doors. Now, my house was equipped with every goddamn arsenal you can imagine. I could have blew up the whole block if I wanted to. And I went over and I called